YouTube. I have not made a video in a while. I want to say sorry to you and to myself for not, staying consistent like I would like to be. And I just want to say sorry for that shit. But let's jump right into it. In this video, I want to talk about why it's so hard for people to change. And to start off, I wanted to say your personality, right? Your personality is the same thing as your personal reality. And what does that mean? That means the way I act, think, and behave, right? That's my personality. That's the way I get the world back to me. But the way you act, think, and behave, think, and feel, you experience two different worlds. Even though the world is objective, we experience two different worlds because we act different ways, right? And another way of saying your personality is called your state of being, meaning the way you think and the way you feel, the thoughts you have and the feelings that you have about yourself, other people, the world, etc. And when your body, right? When your body is in tune with your mind, that's your state of being. So I'm gonna give you a good example. If you're feeling angry, right? And you have angry thoughts towards someone or whatever, let's say you got fired and you're like, okay, I'm gonna have a bad day. I spilled coffee in my pants. I almost got into a car accident. I went to Starbucks and didn't have my drink that I wanted, etc., etc. And then you feel angry. You feel that pressure in your chest, right? That is your state of being. You are angry. Your state of being is anger. It's angry, right? And when you repeatedly have that same state of being for a prolonged period of time, that becomes a personality trait. So more in depth, a personality trait is an emotion, right? And then it goes into a mood. So the longer you feel an emotion, right? The longer you are angry, right? An emotion for a short period of time, within a couple minutes, not minutes, but like 10 minutes, like short periods of time, emotion. And then a longer period of time is a mood, meaning like hours or days. And then a longer period of time after that is a temperament, meaning like months, like weeks and months. And then after that is a personality trait. Once you get so used to experiencing that same emotion for a prolonged period of time, it becomes a personality trait. You become so used to feeling that way that it literally becomes ingrained into you. And when you're not conscious, it goes into your body. Your unconscious mind is your body. Your conscious mind is your mind, right? Your head. And your unconscious mind is your body, because the mind and the body are the same thing. And you can also say the same thing, your conscious body and your unconscious body. Your conscious mind, your unconscious mind. They're the same thing, right? So when you are not aware of the way you are feeling, you become run by your body. And if you react, right, to every little external stimuli in your environment, your body is controlling how you feel, because that emotion is in your body. You have if you have less control over the way you feel than how you like if you let anything affect you emotionally, then you are run by your body, or you're run by the things outside of you, right? And I want to talk about ways to kind of, well, I'm reading a book, right? And it goes into depth of ways to break the habit of being yourself ultimately, right? And the ways I'm going to talk to you about is first, you have to change the way you think and feel, right? Because that is your state of being. When you change the way you think and you feel, you become a totally different person, right? You change your personality trait. You rewire your brain. When you're, like, for example, I'm gonna go back. When you're experiencing the same emotions as this anger, right? That means your brain has fired and wired in the same neural patterns for a long time. So every single time you experience an event that puts you back in that angry state or happy state for a long time, your brain automatically just fires, right? Meaning the electricity in your brain causing the way you feel, because feelings are only chemicals in the body, right? Feelings are only chemicals in the body. Feelings are nothing but chemicals in the body. Think about that. It is just a chemical in your body. So when you experience a chemical, right? When you're addicted to a certain chemical, because that's what it really is. Let's say you're addicted to anger. You might not consciously, know it, but if you continually experience anger every single day in your life, you become addicted to it. And when you're not in an angry state, it feels uncomfortable because you're not. And if you try to go from angry to loving, it's not comfortable for you because you're not used to being without that state. So you become addicted to it and you revert right back to that angry state. So that's number one, changing the way you think and feel and ultimately act, because that is your personality, right? Number two is leaving your environment, your familiar environment, because when you're in a familiar environment, you act and you behave the same way. You're not putting new experiences, new stimuli, right, in your mind, so it has nothing to make new connections in the brain, right? So when you have the external environment chemically signals genes through the emotions of an experience. So the same experiences cause the same genes or equals the same genes, meaning the way you feel and the way you act. The same emotions equals the same experiences. If you always feel the same way, you're gonna always do the same things, right? Good or bad, loving or happy, confident or nervous, or whatever you want to call it. This goes across the board. And the same thinking equals the same emotions. If you think the same way, you feel the same way. I mean, if you think a certain way, you feel the way you think, right? So in order to change, you have to be greater than how you feel. Even if you feel sad or mad or depressed, or you have to think greater than that lower unconscious body. That is how you get better, because if you think and you feel, right, it's a pattern. It's like a cycle. You think and you feel, and you feel and you think. So if you feel depressed, you're gonna think depressed, and if you think depressed, you're gonna feel depressed, and it just keeps on going until you break it. Changing where you are, changing how you think, changing how you feel, and just breaking and taking notice and awareness of the things you're doing on a daily basis, right? And doing something different. Maybe that's super simple. Maybe you get up from your bed right? Everyone does this. Like, get up from your bed, you put your clothes on, brush your teeth, and you get a drink or whatever it is. You do all that unconsciously. You do all that unconsciously. You let your body run the day for you because your body is habit, right? So once you like, let's for example, if you tie your shoe so much, right, you don't have to think about it. Like when you first tie your shoe, you have to think about it because you don't know how to do it. But once you actually learn how to tie your shoe and you master that, the next time you tie your shoe is unconscious. It just happens naturally because your body then takes that, puts it into the body, and then it just becomes part of you. You do it with ease. And imagine that with everything that you're doing in your life. Everything that you do, it gets put into your body, right? When you do it for so long and you don't become aware of it, right? So, I want to talk about one more thing. I want to talk about the frontal lobe of your brain. The frontal lobe is the brain's creative center, meaning the section, right? The area for creation or creativity, right? The frontal lobe is responsible for your conscious decisions. It's responsible for creating things, creativity. It's responsible for differentiating, just everything conscious, right? The frontal lobe has three essential functions, and the first one is to become self-aware. Metacognition, right, is the ability to observe our own thoughts and ourself, right? The beliefs you have, your beliefs, right? Your beliefs personally are the thoughts you keep consciously or unconsciously accepting as the law in your life. What does that mean? That means everything that you think you are, what you own, where you have been, the people you know, the things you eat, the things you see, the things you hear, everything. Everything that your beliefs are the things you accept in your life as who you are. Does that make sense? It's kind of hard for me to elaborate on that because you have to read the book for yourself. But I'm just trying to give you a simple breakdown. And then if you truly want a personal reality, meaning your personal world, right? Because everyone has their own personal world because no one's the same. You have to start observing all aspects of your present personality, meaning the way you, like I said, the way you think, act, feel, every single thought that comes into your mind, you have to question it. You have to ask yourself, is this me? Or like, is this my ego? Right? You have to question everything. Every emotional outburst you have, or everything that gets you riled up, or anything that causes you any type of every thought and every feeling that you experience, you have to question it because ultimately they were in your body for such a long time that it just becomes repetitive and it becomes a habit of being yourself because you've experienced those things for a long time. So it naturally just comes out of nowhere, right? And if you like, let's say you did notice that you were, sometimes negative, like you're sometimes a negative person, you're pessimistic. And one day you say like, I wanna be more positive, right? Even though you say it, you're still gonna get thoughts of that negative thinking because you're so used to doing that. So every single time you get that negative thought, you have to really question yourself or that thought and ask yourself, is it really me that's saying that, or is it just my 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 old self, right? The self I'm trying to break away from, causing that cycle of just repetitiveness. Your ability to consciously inhibit the old habits, those old habits of being, right? Your state of being, the way you think and feel, will stop the same firing and wiring of the old neural networks that are related to the old self, right? Once you stop those feelings and those thoughts, you break away from being your old self, because that is what made your personality, right? The goal here is to unlearn what you used to be so that you can free up energy to create a new life and new personality. So that's one, that's becoming self-aware. That's the first function of the frontal lobe, right? Metacognition. The second one is creating a new mind to think about new ways of being. So that means setting time aside, right? Setting time aside in a private space or whatever it is, and closing your eyes and thinking, who do you want to be? Where do you want to be living? What things you want to change about yourself and circumstances, how you want to talk, how you want to, behave, what do you want to look like physically, what do you want to feel like internally, what do you want to be like, using your mind to imagine this new person in the future, right? And that's why it's so important to get out of your familiar environment, because the more knowledge we have, the greater the variety of neural networks we have wired, and the more capable we are of dreaming of more complex and detailed models of ourselves or whatever it is. So if you're stuck in the same environment for such a long time, you cannot produce anything outside of that environment besides the people that are in there. Or let's say you live in a bad neighborhood, right? And you have never left that bad neighborhood all your life. Obviously, all the ways to get money in that neighborhood, right, would be somewhat illegal. And then you would think, because you have not been to other places, that's the only way to get money, because you're not aware of other ways, or you're not aware of different ways to move around. You can only grow as much as your environment, right? And to really break down and to really focus on what you want to be, you should ask yourself open-ended questions, meaning not like, is he cool, or is he tall? Yes, or whatever. You want to ask yourself, how nice would it be to, etc. What would it be like to be like this? What would it be like to drive this car? What would it be like to live in this area? And then go into depth of what you want to do and who you want to become. Because the more knowledge you have, the more building blocks you have to make a new model of reality, right? And the third one is making thought more real than anything else. So this might get a little just stay with me for this one. When you are in a creation mode, or create a state of creativity, and you know that feeling when you are doing something, so you're so focused on it, you forget everything else. You forget about your body, you forget about your environment, you forget about time, right? Let's say you're playing video games, or you're having so much fun with a particular person, you forget about everything else, even your body. Like, you're just focused on that one thing, that you are just focused. I'm not talking about just like regular focus. I'm talking about like you forget about everything else. When you are in that state, the frontal lobe closes off or lowers the volume of all the other brain parts, meaning the motor center, meaning move your body, the sensory center, feeling of the body, the parietal lobe, meaning your space, right? Space and time. Your visual sensor, you lose you don't see the environment, or like the visual sensor is seeing your environment, right? And the midbrain is, which is the emotions. So when you're in that state of creativity or creation mode, your mind just cuts off everything else. That goes with focusing on something or closing your eyes, right? And focusing so intently on something, on a thought, that thought becomes more real than reality. Right? Like I said, it's kind of hard for me to explain that one in particular because it's just a lot more knowledge to dive into, which I'm not going to go into this video. So I just gave y'all 3 ways how the frontal lobe, or your brain in general, operates, in the 3 essential functions. And I told you about ways to change and how the body works and the brain works when you're trying to change. So make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. I just gave y'all some valuable information. If you want to read the book, it's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. It's a great book. It's a great book. So do what you gotta do to get better, right? Take care.